Tonight, an Arrested Development you can't miss. A cavalcade of stars. The shocking final moments will be presented live. And one of these people will die.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV, from musicals to noirs to a canceled show throwing out every last-minute ratings grab gimmick imaginable. I'm Derek B. Gale, and who's with me today?
This is Joel Arnold, comedy podcaster and sometimes a person who talks about TV.
Nice. Now, hey, Joel, if you had to try one of Lindsay's meals, which consists of either hot ham water, cream soda, or chicken and chicken sauce, which one would you pick to try?
I'm immediately thinking which is the least detrimental to your health. And I don't know the effects of like baking soda straight up in the body, but that is something that goes into baked goods as opposed to salmonella water. So I have to go with her cream soda.
Yeah, I think I've had baking soda in water. I've heard helps with like stomach aches or indigestion sometimes. Okay. So I think it's mixed. She mixes it with milk, right? So maybe I don't know what that does, but
oh no, it's straight. See, I'm lactose intolerant, so already you're just choosing the least worst option.
Yeah, we are of course talking about Arrested Development, season 3, episode 9, entitled S.O.B.s. For those of you listening who are unfamiliar with Arrested Development, was a cult favorite sitcom originally running on Fox for 3 seasons from 2003 to 2006, and was then revived by Netflix in 2013 and then again in 2018 for 2 more seasons, so 5 in total. Created by Mitchell Hurwitz, who's the story editor on Golden Girls and then went on to co-create Lady Dynamite after Arrested Development. The show follows the formerly wealthy and dysfunctional Bluth family after they deal with the loss of their family fortune, and is known for its ensemble cast of just like breakout actors who went on to do a lot of amazing things. Voiceover narration by Ron Howard, intense serialization, running gag, self-referential humor, and just like complex and layered storylines that make it like a critical darling that like won a lot of awards and was always well reviewed, but one that just never really got it in the ratings, unfortunately, hence leading to a pretty quick cancellation. However, it is still really well known, launched the careers of the Russo brothers as directors, launched the careers of a lot of other actors, and is highly influential for a lot of single camera comedies that came after it. But otherwise, Joel, what's your personal history with Arrested Development?
Yeah, so I had to think back because I, for a while, just had these on DVD, and I was like, what was the origin point? And I remembered some, like, high school dance, like one of the big ones. I think it was after Homecoming in 2004, 2005, because I got in before the 3rd season was on the air in, like, late 2005, 2006, where, you know, with my family, I'd watched a lot of, we only had, you know, like the 5 channels. We only had network TV. We didn't have cable, so we watched a lot of what was on, which I think, you know, at the time, still now probably, a lot of procedurals, a lot of dramas, a couple comedies, but that would have been like Seinfeld reruns. That was mostly my thing. My parents didn't like comedy much. So when I saw this is my first like single camera sitcom that I saw, and we were just like watching some episodes that the one guy's house that we went over to, this group of friends after the dance, I was just like watching this, and I think I remember it has something to do with Marta. It was a Marta like arc, and I was just blown away because like the joke density, how clever it was, how kind of smart it made you feel as an audience member with keeping up with the pace of jokes, both like callbacks and jokes happening within scenes. And I just like had to know more. I like ordered the DVDs, and yeah, I think I was caught up by this time season 3 aired, so that I don't know if I would have seen this episode live because it was the show was being moved around the schedule so much by Fox. But I definitely got the DVD when season 3 came out and just really just like loved the show. I didn't love when it came back in season 4 and 5, but I'm glad that we got kind of a taste of that, or that the show was vindicated, posthumously for that stretch of time. And yeah, like you were saying, like launched the careers of so many talented comedians, and I think influenced me in my taste for sure. Like 30 Rock and It's Always Sunny would come out the year after, and I think I was starting to get interested in them because of a show like this.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it was so influential for like stuff like 30 Rock and like Community, and I mean, I think to this day, I'm sure there are things like it. I feel like it was very rare, and even still is, to have seen a comedy, like what is ostensibly a sitcom that like trusts its audience as much as this show does. It's just sort of like, yeah, no, you are smart enough to follow just these ridiculous storylines that we're doing, and these like really dense jokes, and these episodes are so dense. This wasn't one that I watched when it was originally airing. I remember when it came out, and I don't think that Fox had the best ads for it when it first started, because I remember seeing the ads for it. I distinctly remember I was watching like American Idol or something like that, and there was like, your Fox like narrator, the same like announcer that they have like in this episode, was like, tonight on Arrested Development, the dad of the Bluths escapes prison dressed as Santa in a smock. And I'm like, this show sounds fucking stupid. Like, what? And so I never gave it a chance. And I wasn't familiar with any of the people that were on it either. Like, I had never seen any of David Cross's work ahead of time. Like, anybody who was recognizable on it, I had no idea who they were. So I had like no like touch point for it. Yeah. It wasn't until a few years later, some of my friends were into it, particularly Tommy, who's been on this podcast a number of times, was a really big fan of it as it was going on and had all the DVDs for it. So like, I was recommended it after it was done airing. And I think it wasn't that long. I think it was maybe like 2009 or something like that. I think that's probably when it first like got onto Netflix probably. And so I just watched all through it then and fell in love with it, and like was like, oh, okay, this is what people have been talking about. I totally get it now. And like, I was diehard, from there. I think I've watched through the original run of the show a couple of times. I was there for the 4th season. I stick up for the original cut of the 4th season a lot. I do think that season is better than it gets credit for, like at least in terms of its ambition. And I think like, it's not as funny as the original run of the show, but like it is still very smart and very clever, and I love the structure of it. I think the recut of season 4 is horrendous. I think it's really bad. And then season 5, I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world, but I never finished it. I was just kind of bored. So, and I think I don't know if that's really uncommon with people. I feel like everybody's just sort of like later Arrested Development's revival seasons, like it's whatever. Like I feel like it's just kind of drains. It ends up being kind of exhausting at the end of it.
Yeah, it seems to be the consensus. And I think also what was coming out from news at the time kind of put a pall over wanting to check that out with allegations against Jeffrey Tambor and kind of Jessica Walter talking about her tough time on set at times. And I think it didn't have a good vibe at the time, but I'd be curious to go back to season 4 because expectations, at least for me, were so hyped, and I knew that they couldn't exactly recreate it, but kind of the format was so different than what I expected. I was judging it unfairly on those terms. I wonder, appreciating it on its own merits, if I would like it a little more. Like, there are a few individual gags that like still stand out to me as like the kernel of them. The joke is still very Arrested Development.
Yeah. And like it's such an endlessly rewatchable show. It's like you're always discovering new things. I think season 4 is kind of the same way too. Like, especially once you know what it all is leading up to, then the earlier episodes that maybe aren't as funny, like you're like, oh, I understand that they're setting this up, and that's funny retroactively. Like, that's kind of the whole show, right? It's just the way that it sort of is consistently building on itself in a way that is just so brilliantly done,
Yeah. And it's interesting to see with season 4 and watching one of Mitch Hurwitz's follow-up shows, Sit Down, Shut Up, which I think I was like jonesing for some Mitch Hurwitz several years ago and watched that. And he really is interested in not just like joke density, but joke complexity and trying to build on complicated formats that is not always successful, but when it can really be combined with, great casting and stories people are interested in, or sense of humor that people are interested in, then yeah, I mean, lightning in a bottle can happen, like with the first 3 seasons.
Yeah. You got to appreciate the big swings that he takes in his stuff, for sure.
When Ron Howard turned his talents to television, we knew his show would be special.
Securities and Exchange Commission.
They have boats?
But we never imagined this. It's the fall's best new sitcom, Hilarious. The one, the only must-see sitcom, the funniest new comedy. Usually critics' quotes are only good for one thing.
Shredder? No. Save it. Shredder.
But ignoring these would be criminal.
I'm having the time of my life. Hey, T-Bone.
Arrested Development, series premiere Sunday, November 2nd on Fox.
These are just some of the good things America's critics are saying about Arrested Development. It's the fall's best new sitcom, Hilarious, the smartest and sharpest comedy of this or last season, the funniest new comedy on the fall schedule. The question is not so much will it make you laugh, as how long will it make you laugh. Now, in an effort to give everyone equal voice, these are some of the bad things people are saying. Exactly. Don't miss what everyone is calling the best new comedy of the year, Arrested Development. Premieres Sunday, November 2nd on Fox.
Get ready for Fox Laugh Out Loud Sunday. First, Brad Pitt is Boomhauer's brother. On the King of the Hill season premiere. Then it's the all-new Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. And Malcolm's Family hits Vegas with David Cassidy.
Those aren't for you. Pass them up.
Plus, it's the premiere of Arrested Development, the show Time magazine calls the fall's best new sitcom.
I'm having the time of my life. Hey, T-Bone.
Fox Laugh Out Loud Sunday premieres at 7:30, 6:30 Central tonight.
With the episode we're talking about today, it's really fascinating because it is so deeply tied into the legacy of the show, right? Like, I feel like one big part of the show that is always going to be part of its story is like, oh, this was just a fledgling cult show that, like, if you really love comedy and really love TV, you're going to love it, but not enough people watched it. It was always in the bubble of cancellation, just was not treated well by the network, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And so I like that this particular episode is in just such a direct conversation with that aspect of it. But then just like happens to also be like right at the tail end, right before the show just ends completely originally.
Yeah, I love that. Like, this makes sense given how the episode, feels when you're watching it, but it was validating in learning about some of the production history to learn that season 3 had been scaled down from 18 episodes to 13 episodes, and then they had gotten the notification that they'd be canceled before the last 5 episodes had been produced. So this would have been the first one before, or I guess right after getting that news, and the last 4 kind of would be the arc ending the show, tying up storylines. So I love that they just took one to really get it out.
Yeah, it is. This is almost just like this is their direct response to that. It's sort of like, you're canceling us? All right, well, this is just us letting out our feelings about it. Like the title S.O.B.s, it could be, sons of bitches. It could be save our bloofs. It could also be like sobs as in crying because your show's getting canceled. It's kind of that. Yeah, it's so interesting. And then it's like even worse. I don't know what the timeline would have necessarily been for how things were scheduled out, like versus when they were writing it. But like there is also something to the fact that like there's this episode that airs and then the last 4 episodes all air on the same night opposite the opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympics, which is obviously going to like slaughter the show in the ratings when the show's already not doing good in the ratings anyway. So like in a lot of ways, this is like the last episode that they would probably expect any new viewers might actually be watching would be this episode, not anything that comes after it, which makes it even more hilarious that all of this is happening.
Yeah, this airs on, looked it up, January 2nd, 2006 on a Monday. And then, they take more than a month break and dump the last 4 on a Friday opposite the Olympics. And like those long breaks were just par for the course that could not have helped them.
Of course.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see after this, like years after this, Fox make more of an earnest effort at comedy with like the Mindy Project, New Girl, starting with Brooklyn Nine-Nine there, but at the time just not want to support anything like this at all.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that a big reason for Arrested Development not being as successful as it could have been is because it came out like, you know, around the time of American Idol and stuff like that. Like Fox was really hitting it hard on reality TV at the time. And I don't mean to just like, you know, be like reality TV ruined television or whatever. Like that's its own conversation or whatever. But I do think that like there is something to like the particular audience that Fox was seeing was responding to the particular content that they had, and something like Arrested Development that is kind of a show built for like comedy and TV nerds. Like that's not what they were looking for at the time. Right. So it all makes sense. I mean, the fact that it got 3 seasons on Fox, honestly, I think is kind of amazing at all, probably only because it was such a big award winner. So they knew that they were at least getting like cred for that on that end, you know? And based on everything that I read and like interviews with like Hurwitz at the time and everything, like there wasn't really like bad blood with Fox necessarily, even though Fox was like consistently cutting them down because like, you know, the show wasn't good in like was proved to not be good in ratings, to be fair, you know, so it just wasn't really, maybe it wasn't a show built for a network, you know? Yeah.
I think some of the casts have also talked about like they wished there would have been more consistent scheduling or advertising, but yeah, whatever the reason, it seems like he would like Hurwitz would go on to have Sit Down, Shut Up, which was an animated show reteaming some of the cast on Fox, later work with them for, I'm not sure if Running Wild might have been NBC. But yeah, he continued to work with them. So that was always an interesting wrinkle before I kind of understood more. I was just like, okay, well, it's fun that the episode positions you in a way as the audience to like really feel on their side and kind of not knowing more, like blame Fox because they don't have a place at this network anymore. And you're like, okay, well, maybe they can go somewhere else. But I love that throughout the episode, the theme of, okay, we could adjust ourselves in these 5 different ways to make ourselves more sympathetic, more appealing, more clear cut, but you wouldn't want what that is. Like that wouldn't be this show. And so we're going to go out on our own terms. Yeah.
And what I find so fascinating too, is that like, you know, I feel like you could watch this episode and just be like, are they really trying to like get fans to really save them? Like, is this for real? Like they're really that desperate? They're really like trying an honest attempt at just being this crazy? Like, is this their way of having a ratings gimmick episode, like for real? And based on everything I read, it's like nobody was actually taking this seriously. Nobody thought that the Save Our Bluths campaign was actually going to work, which I mean, honestly, like makes it all even funnier that this is happening in an episode. Like I was reading some interviews with Hurwitz, like right after the show was canceled. And, you know, and there had been, I think, negotiations all throughout the last season, potentially with Showtime picking it up. Like that was a real thing, real conversations that were happening. And like, honestly, the articles are less like, oh, they didn't want us, and more like, they wanted the show. Hurwitz just wanted more money. It's just like, I wanted to get paid. And also like, I don't know, maybe I've sort of reached, maybe I'm kind of creatively exhausted with the story I wanted to tell anyway. Like he says that verbatim. So I think that it maybe was sort of like, you know, if I've got to try this hard to make this show work on Fox anyway, maybe I don't really feel like trying that hard at this point. So I think by the time this episode really comes, like this is sort of their swan song, but like nobody's really trying or expecting this to actually save the show, you know?
Yeah, but at that point they've been canceled and they are in negotiations with Showtime, who want them. But it sounded like from even like interviews with Hurwitz, and the interviews with Hurwitz are a little bit interesting because I can see it sounded like he was creatively drained also.
That's what he said.
But
right
like
after
he's
it was
got
canceled.
an
that
agenda.
Could have also been
like,
yeah, that could also be him like saying that, you know, like to feel better about the cancellation.
Yeah, there's like some legacy building going on, and I'm sure how he talked about it in some interviews, like in 2006, would be different than how he reflected later on. Because I think one of the things they said is like, well, he could do it for less money, which would mean maybe less cast, and it wouldn't look and feel like Arrested Development. And that makes sense that he wouldn't want to continue. He want to give fans the same quality that had been given up to that point. But, you know, I think with more money, his mind changed because with Netflix, essentially that was season 4. Like their cast isn't all together. It's it's a different animal. But yeah, I like that he was open about this. And I don't know, as to like whether or not these things would have worked, I think it generated me as a viewer such an affection for the show, and probably helped with everyone would talk about for years. I remember just like, oh, could we ever get a season 4 of Arrested Development? And it was mind-blowing news when shows didn't frequently come back for like a legacy sequel, that season 4 was going to happen. And yeah, I remember watching this episode though with kind of a sense of disappointment that the gags weren't what they were promised to be. Like the celebrity cameos end up being just like a shot, and like the live is a shot. So like there are these elements that are hyped up, but I was like, oh, well, that's just designed to be like disappointing, because like, hey, you think these things that are exciting, these will not be exciting. Even if we put more effort into them, they wouldn't be this show. Like they would feel kind of empty and not feel so good on a rewatch. It'd be like, oh no, I know what happens. I know who dies, and it's the woman who plays Ethel from Parks and Recreation.
It's such a beautiful fuck you to the audience. And like, one that I think especially if you are a viewer of Fox content at the time, it's sort of like, oh, I've seen all of these things on other shows, not necessarily all at once in the same episode. But like all of this stuff and the way it's presented, like the way the announcer, like tonight someone dies, like that probably still happens on network TV now. Like it's the like obvious transparent ratings grab bullshit. But I love like the fuck you of it all, where it's just like what if we did do that though? Like what if we did it and it would suck, and it does suck. Isn't this like the worst part of the episode?
It's hard for me to think of even like another show where in streaming or on DVD that they include like metatextual promo, like a promo lead-in from the network, because like that's like you were saying, the Fox announcer voice, like the Fox background they were using for promos at the time, like tonight. And I'm just like, it's like it's part of what they're delivering to you. It's
great. I love it. And what's funny is that I haven't rewatched any Arrested Development like in quite a while. I think partially because like season 5 kind of bummed me out and stuff. So it's been a long time since I've revisited the earlier ones. I didn't remember how much stuff that I love comes from this episode specifically. Like Hot Ham Water, all the Andy Richter stuff, like so many like little jokes that I remember vividly, like as being instrumental to it. And I'm like, oh, that's from like the tail end of the show. I didn't realize that it was from this episode.
I found that canned ham that we'd had forever, and I put it in a pot of boiling water, and guess what I'm calling it?
Soup?
Hot ham water.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
Would you like to try some of this?
Oh, so watery. And yet there's a smack of ham to it.
It's hot ham water.
Yeah, for at least for me, like watching it around high school and rewatching it a couple times in the years after, it's funny to go back to something like kind of formative to comedy like this and think of all the like the quotes that the people, like the small group of people at my high school would have been saying to each other, but that have like stuck with me. Like, the delivery of hot ham water, like so proud, like she's discovering it for the first time, really stuck with me. Yeah. And just that exchange with Buster too, with Tony Hale's, like the way he really just puts the sauce on smack of ham, like that stuck with me too.
It's so good. It's so good. Well, I don't really have a lot of other background stuff anyway, so we're already talking about some bits from it, so we can dive in to talk more specifically about this episode.
Now the story of a wealthy family who lost everything, and the one son who had no choice but to keep them all together. It's Arrested Development.
If you're listening and want to watch along with us, this show is streaming on Netflix currently. The episode we're talking about, S.O.B.s. Synopsis per IMDb is actually pretty hefty, which makes sense because this show is very dense. And that synopsis is, George Sr. suggests a last-ditch effort to save the family by holding a fundraiser to raise money to pay their legal expenses. Fundraiser to raise money. Yep, that's what it is. Michael suggests to Lindsay that she take over the housework, and she sends George Michael to an expensive boarding school. Meanwhile, maybe has trouble with a snowboarding film, and Tobias tries to be a disciplined daddy. Whew, okay. The original air date, like we said, January 2nd, 2006. This episode was written by James Vallely and Richard Day. Vallely was the producer throughout all 5 seasons of this show, so that includes the revival seasons, and also wrote and produced on Golden Girls, Till Death, and 2.5 Men, among other things. And Day was a producer specifically just from this season up through season 5, and then became a producer and writer on The Drew Carey Show, Spin City, Roseanne, Mad About You, and Dog with a Blog. One of those doesn't really fit that list, but sure. This episode was directed by Robert Berlinger. He directed on Golden Girls, Third Rock from the Sun, Sports Night, Dharma and Greg, Gilmore Girls, and The Wizards of Waverly Place. So 2 like, was Dog with a Blog Nickelodeon or Disney Channel? I don't know. But like 2 of those like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon child sitcoms, which is fascinating to me that they pivoted from this to that. But yeah. So this episode, we already talked about it, but honestly, like one of my favorite parts is literally how it opens, which is just the before credits or anything. It is just the announcer from Fox saying, "Arrested Development, you can't miss a cavalcade of stars. The final shocking moments will be presented live, and one of these people will die." Which of course does that like famous network TV thing of flashing literally the entire cast, multiple like major recurring characters, and also one old lady who we've never seen before. Wonder which one's gonna die.
And anytime cavalcade is used, that word, I mean, you know it's going to be good.
Yeah. Big red flag. The flashes that they show of celebrities in that opening are as much as you see of those celebrities in the entire episode.
Really,
oh, yeah,
absolutely. Most of whom I love those cameos because, you know, a couple of them are actors that have appeared before. Most of them are actors that will appear in subsequent episodes. And then John Larroquette, who's been mentioned but will not appear again on the show. Like, that's it.
One thing I found about that, there's a Reddit AMA with like a writer's assistant who I think was the direct assistant to Hurwitz back in like 2011 or something about this episode. Most of it was stuff that like we already knew, but one interesting tidbit that I don't think I'd seen anywhere else, that they had John Larroquette there because he was slated to be in a season 3 storyline in the original like version before it got cut 13 episodes. He was going to have a whole storyline about being like stalked and kidnapped by Kitty as like her fake boyfriend.
Yep, of course.
Yeah, which makes sense for him. But like, you know, since they were going to have to cut all that out, this is sort of the concession to at least get him in for this one cameo.
That makes a lot of sense. Also learning that Mitch Hurwitz was a writer on the John Larroquette Show, which is a thing that existed. But yeah, I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, Kitty did talk about him once, like obliquely. She was like, a cast member of Night Court is looking for a meaty character role.
Yeah, it would have been such a good pull, yeah.
And also Richard Belzer, I thought that he had been on the show before, but I guess the episode where he's Detective Munch and scrapbooking comes after, so he's uncredited.
It does.
And at the time you could be like, well, I guess it'd have to be Richard Belzer, and like was retconned to be Detective John Munch, because otherwise, why are you inviting a Detective John Munch to your party?
It's so funny. Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
But also Zach Braff, I mean, good get for the time, height of Scrubs popularity, and I guess he was on an earlier episode as the Girls Gone Wild-esque guy.
Yeah, you got him, and then Ben Stiller, of course, is already recurring on this show, so yeah, it makes sense. And it's such an interesting collection too, because I feel like there's even another layer to it where it's like cavalcade of stars and they're all just like TV people that would guest star in a network sitcom anyway. Like they're nobody, like not to discredit any of those guys. They're all good in their own way, but like I wouldn't call any of them gigantic stars or anything necessarily.
Yeah, included in the montage is John Beard, the like Fox local news anchor who also plays a fictional news anchor on the show.
Right. Yeah, it's great. Again, just sort of like undermining just the typical ratings gimmick thing that you see all the time on TV. It's like right off the bat, it's fabulous. And then we got like the first scene establishes a whole lot that we can, and we can go wherever we want to after that. But the sort of premise for the episode is that like the Bluths have lost their lawyer. The headline for the newspaper is Bob Loblaw lobs law bomb, which great. Love it.
Now, we're going to need a new lawyer, and that is going to mean about a $100,000 retainer. If we want a chance of keeping this family going past the next few weeks, we're going to have to pull out all the stops. What am I talking about? Talking about all of you getting jobs. Now, the best place to look for... Who threw the tomato?
Like a show would need like money is for a fan campaign or something. The Bluths need money to raise to like stay afloat, essentially. And like right off the bat, the first like great joke that they have is a 3D joke where you see put on 3D glasses now, flash on screen, and then you get like the sort of like dual colored like two lens like 3D whatever you would call it on the screen of like Job throwing a tomato at the screen. My question is, if you actually had 3D glasses, would it actually be 3D?
I know. I searched. I really wanted to have a pair to see if it would work because, yes, of course, they give you no prep time. It's not in the promo.
Right.
This is
right.
It's just calling back to like 3D would go on to have more popularity in subsequent years, like with theaters especially, but not that kind of 3D. And yeah, these are just like the gimmicks that would get you in the movie house like decades ago, like the really kind of like schmaltzy things to get you in the door. Like these are like the tried and true kinds of tricks.
And it's like they don't even use it. Like this is they use it twice in this episode. This first time is the only one that like sort of makes sense because he's at least throwing something at the screen. It pops up one other time in the episode, and it's literally just like Andy Richter's twin brother walking through the door. Like that's it. Nothing even happens. Like
yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, he's just walking towards you threateningly.
Right. And like that's it for the 3D. Which again, I love it because it's such a fuck you because it's like, oh wait, are they going to do this like 3D thing all throughout the episode? No, they're going to do it twice, and one of the times it doesn't even make sense. So.
And it's going to be Andy Richter, like terrifying action star.
Andy Richter in a leather jacket, you know. A couple other things in this opening scene. One of the other storylines that this establishes that we can talk a little more about later is that there's a whole deal that like maybe Lindsay's daughter has been accepted into this like new age kind of feel goodery school called Openings.
Well, how the hell are we going to get $100,000?
Well, I know this isn't exactly what you're looking for, but maybe it was just accepted into private school. And I've sent the check in already.
No, that's not what I'm looking for at all.
Michael, it's the most prestigious private school in town.
Which is like, well, that has nothing to do with anything. How does that help us like raise $100,000? Why are you bringing this up? Oh yeah, so we can, establish it for later.
Yeah, she's got no segue. She just really wanted to tell people her thing.
Yeah, and that way they've got it out there so they can use that plot point later in the episode. But the other thing that is more relevant is, Michael's like, how about,
Lindsay, since you already sent the check, this is how you're going to pay for it. You're going to be in charge of the house from now on, okay? The cooking, the cleaning, all of it.
You're going to put Lindsay in charge of the cooking? At least you'll lose weight.
Job, pal, how about you? Can you find some work?
Oh, sure, Michael. As what? Oh, waiter, can I get you something, madam?
I will have a vodka, though.
What? Oh.
Why don't you be like a normal sitcom family? I don't know. Instead of this like unsympathetic people that no one wants to watch on television. Mm-hmm. And of course there's pushback about it, which is when George Bluth instead suggests that they hold a legal defense fund dinner.
Instead of us all selling out and becoming housewives and waiters, why don't we have a big event? Some sort of Save Our Bluths type thing. We'll throw a legal defense fund dinner. Ask for a donation.
Yeah, our backs are against the wall, and it's just hard to accept that it's really come to begging.
Sometimes it's the only way to stay in the game.
Please tell your friends about this show.
Which is a Save Our Bluths event, to which saveourbluths.com flashes on the screen.
Which apparently was never registered, or at least by the show, which I think just shows like, yeah, they didn't care. They weren't. Yeah, they weren't desperate like other shows might be with trying to coordinate like leverage fan support for a canceled show like Firefly or something like that. They're just like, what if this existed? What if we wanted it this badly?
Exactly. Currently, SaveOurBluths.com redirects to TV Fanatics Arrested Development news page.
Oh, good.
So,
there's news still.
Well, I mean, the page for the news that would have,
right.
Maybe older news. The archive for the news, I guess. But accompanying the website too is the narrator, of course, saying, "Please tell your friends about this show."
Yeah, that was, I think, the most meta thing I'd seen on TV up to that point. And yeah, it's funny now to think about shows that more directly engage with their audience now, but at the time that was like, what a show can like really tell you how much they're on the fringe of being canceled. I don't know. A good example might be Gallivant would really lean into that in season 2 when they would talk about even like the cancellation bear on Twitter. Like, I appreciate when a show does that, and I appreciate that the network let it go by. I mean, Fox doesn't deserve like much credit, but like a little bit of credit.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting nowadays because like now any show's official Twitter is just going to start the hashtag that they'll want fans to use when they want to get saved. You know, like it's I mean, shows get canceled all the time still, but like it's at least easier to like try to get a fan campaign started. Like I feel like it's almost inherent that a fan campaign is going to get started for anything when a show's near cancellation at this point, because it is so easy to just get your hashtag and there you go. Yeah. But like, 2006, it's not as easy to do that. Like some fan would actually have to start a letter writing campaign and organize something and register saveourbluths.com, so the fact that the show is sort of like acknowledging that is a thing. And again, like not seriously doing it, but like acknowledging that there's a thing that exists and being like, no, this is a show that can only be successful by word of mouth at this point, y'all. So like, that's all you can do. And what is funny is like, I think like you were sort of referring to earlier, even though they weren't being serious about it, it does kind of light a fire under you, I think, as a viewer. Like I do think that Arrested Development only comes back when it does, because fans keep this kind of stuff in their head that's sort of like, but I should tell everyone about this show that's great and make sure people watch it so it can stay in the cultural conversation so that it justifies coming back 10 years later.
Yeah. There's like, it could have gone out without this episode and having the last 4 just like tie things up and have been great and still be talked about. But I think getting you to watch it like this episode wouldn't necessarily do that, but like how good people, felt about the show, they'd talk about it to their friends. And then once you're 3 seasons in, thoroughly in love with the show and what it's doing, and you get to that episode, you'd be like, oh no, of course, this show needs to come back. Only 13 episodes. Like these were, network seasons. So the first one's like 22 episodes. So these were like good, healthy seasons. And yeah, of course you would want it back. Like, yeah, it feels like this like call, like as the ship is sinking, just like, don't forget us, it's possible.
It's funny. It's funny because it's like they kind of they really do kind of get to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, we're just doing this in jest. Like it's the sort of self-deprecating, like we're all going to be canceled anyway. None of this matters. But also like, what if though?
Yeah.
Like,
the same impulse with like, Mitch Hurwitz being in an interview later saying like, I'm creatively tapped out. The cast wanted to move on. I never wanted the quality to drop, but also leaving Ron Howard in at the end of the final episode saying like, maybe a movie.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think that there are interviews of like her saying as much where it's just like, I mean, a movie would be cool though. Like we could easily make a movie happen. Like, I don't think he ever stopped saying that. Honestly, it's surprising that it wasn't a movie when it came back on Netflix, at that point. So it's fascinating stuff. From here, I think we can kind of go anywhere because obviously the episode kind of cuts all over the place. We've already talked about it a little bit, but like, I love Lindsay's whole storyline in this episode and how that intersects with everything. Like, it's like, what if the young woman in our show did like, the young woman, wife and mother type things like cooking and cleaning, and she's just horrendously bad at all of it in the most absurd way.
Yeah. The things that this character would absolutely never do.
Right.
Including paying attention to her daughter and what she's up to, which is a great running gag.
I'm actually a really good mom. I think it's because Maybe's never around. Did you see this letter? It's done wonders for Maybe.
Maybe is an exceptional young lady.
Exceptional.
We are sure that she is destined for great things.
Great things.
And we wish her luck in all her... says over. Probably have to crack this open to be sure, but this sounds like an expulsion letter.
Okay, well, this is pivoting away from Lindsay. But I did have a unique experience on rewatching a couple of years ago where I was suddenly recognizing everywhere that I had worked on the Fox lot where they had used, like, sometimes it would be for, like, in front of a courthouse, in front of a bank, like exteriors, things like that. But a lot of the scenes of Maybe in, like, Tantamount Studios or wherever she ended up working for by the end, like, would have been in like buildings on the 20th Century Fox lot where I worked for a few years. And so it was a strange experience to know like, oh, okay, so they're using this hallway, this like specific hallway that I worked right next to. It's like, oh, okay, that is a movie studio hallway. Or like, oh, this fountain, okay, they're using that fountain now as like part of the studio tour. Yeah, no, that's relatable to no one else but me, but it was changed my viewing.
It is still funny though, because it's like the idea of having one of your characters, like maybe's like fake film executive, like storyline, like spans like multiple seasons. I think like it's a pretty long running story. And so like, it's kind of clever to like have, you're going to have to film a lot on film lots and in film studios. That's probably the easiest place to film because you're already filming there anyway, but you don't have to like dress anything up because it's like, we're just going to put her on the film studio in the lot that already exists because it literally takes place in a studio and a lot. And that's where most of her storylines are taking place. Like, I find that very funny.
Yeah. And I love how quickly she's like aged by that process. Like in the show generally, like how like seemingly cynical and fast talking she becomes, just how she relates to other people, like with using George Michael being like, okay, yes, great, you can read this for me. Like just the transactional nature of Hollywood, and how I don't know, I guess how like smooth with manipulating her parents and other people maybe becomes.
Well, I thought it was a boarding school too.
Actually, maybe it'd been on the set of a film called Snowboarding School 2 in her secret life as a film executive.
Okay, look, first of all, Variety got it wrong, all right? We didn't even want this project. It was a co-finance with Miramax, and poof, Miramax is gone, and we're still on the hook, and it turns out Jamie Kennedy can't even snowboard.
Well, I actually think that's such an interesting, like, kind of touch point for what a lot of this episode is talking about with how, the Bluths as a family are not relatable in a traditional sitcom way at all. And like, yeah, having your 16-year-old daughter who like on any other sitcom is going to be dealing with like school crushes and like, are they getting good grades? Like she's just like, has like scammed herself a role as a film executive and like is like acting like she's a 44-year-old executive the entire time and everything. It's just like so the unreality there it is like so fundamentally unrelatable. I mean, the whole show, I think, like, is built on these characters being completely unsympathetic and unrelatable in so many ways, but still like funny and compelling to watch. And like maybe is such an encapsulation of that. And like what this episode is in conversation of, like, yeah, the only reason that the show is as good as it is because none of these characters like act like human beings that you actually would ever see on any other TV show.
Yeah, and that they like they seem to like what they're doing, but they're just going to cause worse harm to other characters than if they were being more self-involved. That's like one unintended consequence, or I mean intended consequence for us to see that happens. Like Job working at the country club has the effect of him like making a pass at his mom, serving. I mean, Lindsay serving the food thankfully doesn't make anyone seemingly that we're aware of sick, but she does fix Buster's thumb, and that's what the old racist woman chokes on.
Yeah, I think it's kind of I want to give the writers credit that I feel like that was an intentional kind of rug pull, that they set up like Lindsay cooking like chicken that could potentially kill people, and that's not what causes the death in the episode. It's still the old lady eating something, but eating Buster's thumb by accident, not the poisoned food, basically.
Yeah, not the
which
unintentional
I think is very
poison,
funny.
not the intentional poisoned food, the muffins.
Right.
It's just like, oh yeah, I love Ron Howard's delivery as well, just like spoiling it early. It's like, oh, so you feel better. She's the one who dies later.
And he discovered that a little flirting helped bring in the tips.
If you didn't have adult onset diabetes, I wouldn't mind giving you a little sugar.
Oh, Job, you could charm the black off a telegram boy.
Okay, we'll just tell you now. She's the one who dies.
Yeah, because that's part of, like, Job meets her, and, like, he's basically, Job's whole storyline, you can run through it really quickly. It is basically, he tries to, like, just mess with Lucille, his mom, by just, like, pretending to be a waiter, like, ha ha ha, isn't this funny? But because she never makes eye contact with waiters ever, she never sees that it's him, so he gets stuck there working a job as a waiter, accidentally works a day in his life, which makes him, like, more like a relatable sitcom character, but then he's like, but I can get more for tips, if I flirt with people, he flirts with an old lady who turns out to be like extremely racist. And then Ron Howard, the narrator, is just like, yeah, she's the one who dies. It's fine. Nobody cares.
Yeah. I really appreciated her. You know, it's only a few lines, but I feel like she nailed it. And as Ethel on Parks and Recreation is great. Also, like the little scene, I think they've got to be streaming somewhere now, but they were webisodes or like a web series at the time, Burning Love, which is a parody of like the Bachelor franchise. She plays like they've got like people who don't belong on those kinds of shows as contestants. And she, you know, like a lot of like hot women in their 20s and 30s, and then also Agnes. She does pretty well though. She does pretty well in the competition, I will say. But yeah, very funny there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. She seems every time I've seen her pop up in comedy stuff, she's always a joy. She's always a joy to watch.
Yeah. Oh, she has a name. Helen Slayton Hughes is her name.
Cool. Okay. I never knew that.
I was like,
but
her.
That's
consistently like knocking it out of the park whenever I see her.
Yeah, recognizable little character actor. I love it. Kills it every time. Very memorable every time.
Also in the country club scene, like Jack McBrayer also showing up in pre 30 Rock fashion.
Yeah. I was surprised to see that in just like just a super bit role, teaching Job what the concept of tips are. Very funny.
After he gives him the tips, his like little turn, it like takes him a second to do like a full like 180 around to leave. Like just that note, I was like, yeah, I'm glad someone saw that and was like, you've got the talent, kid. Because it's so small, but like it's done so well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like he is someone who's just very striking to see on screen. Like I feel like he has like a really particular energy to him that like you can tell that like, no, that is something interesting. That's not just a background player. You got to elevate him to something else. Another thing in while we're talking about Job's stuff, the only other thing from all of Job's country club things, it does lead to an exchange that I like a lot, because Lucille finds out that Job is a waiter there because he like flirts with her, and it's very funny. I can't tell if he's flirting with her by accident or not, but either way, she's horrified to see that her son is working as a waiter, just a lowly waiter. It's terrible.
Guess where he's been getting his money?
Is he following people to their cars again?
He's a waiter!
He is? Well, that's great.
No, it's not great.
Well, am I the only one that thinks that this family is finally starting to become sympathetic and relatable? I mean, that's what people want to see, you know? Lindsay's taking care of the house.
Oh, I forgot about that. Tell the housewife she's not coming either.
If you don't want her, you don't want me either. She's taking care of me. She glued my thumb back on. Sister's my new mother. And is it just me, or is she looking hotter, too?
Well, why don't you marry her?
Maybe I will!
We're veering away from relatability again.
But then it like quickly devolves into every character like just talking about the worst parts of themselves, and then it very much devolves into like veering away from that relatability that network executives are always asking for a show like
yeah, in so many ways it was like influential on shows that would follow, with unlikability being something that people would accept in comedies, and also ahead of its time.
I think so too. Yeah, like I don't know that you'd get something like Always Sunny, if you didn't have a show like this. Like it's interesting because I was thinking about what I was watching, because there's a lot of stuff in the show, obviously, that it came out in the edgy comedy time of the early 2000s. So there's plenty of jokes that don't really age well, right? But it almost like it's still in a lot of times doesn't feel as bad as a lot of contemporary comedies, I think, because the characters are presented like from the perspective of, no, these are awful people. You are supposed to think that they're awful. Sometimes they're going to say awful things, and like, you're not going to agree with them, And I don't think that there's any question about that when you're watching it. And I think that there's a distinction between that and like even like Seinfeld before it, which is also a show that's about a lot of awful people. But I think like not a lot of people watching it would necessarily see that because they related so much to those characters at the same time. Like Arrested Development is like right from the get-go, like these are unrelatable, unsympathetic, horrible people. They just happen to be extremely funny to watch and played by very funny people. And so you're kind of watching it in spite of that anyway,
There's an element to it where it could feel familiar now to someone, if you're watching Succession or Schitt's Creek, but Schitt's Creek, takes a different approach where they want to over time bring out the humanity in these people and see them change, because you've got like this immense wealth and self-interest, but then also seeing them down on their luck and kind of scrambling is satisfying. But I like that. One, I like that they never change. But also, I think it's more palatable because, I don't know, unlike other sitcoms where the characters are unlikable, they don't fuck over that many people. Like, they don't, like, really just ruin lives that much. It seems like most of the damage is to each other, and it also doesn't stick, so it's easy to jump back in and be like, okay, well, they're, you know, if one of them kind of gets ahead or sort of one-ups the other, like, they're going to be punished, but also not in a way that's, you know, like they still have money. Like, they're still pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. Yeah, no, that is a good point, though. Like, this is a show that you never really, like, feel bad for anyone else in the world, because everyone else in the world of the show recognizes that the Blues are awful. Like, nobody else no one in the show, the audience or anyone else, is sympathetic to the Blues. And I think there's sort of like power in that. Like, that allows the show to get away with a lot more, a lot more bad stuff within the Blues sphere, because you know that it's sort of like, these are bad people. We know that. That's very explicitly clear. That is the entire point of the show. And yeah, like you said, like, the consequences are never that bad. Like, it's all kind of going to be okay in the end, you know?
Yeah. And even the characters who aren't that bad, like, I think George Michael is a good example of that, where he's, a little more innocent, and he's got a crush on his cousin, but other than that, isn't, like, too bad of a kid. And I think is, like, protected from that largely. And kind of when it reaches him more, I think in the last few episodes, that just is an opportunity for growth and for him to kind of be his own person. So, and I think, like, I don't know, like Lucille 2 would be another one where sometimes the characters were, a little mean to her, but, like, she would one-up them. So, like, most people made it out okay from their interactions with the Blues. But, like, well, not maybe in season 4 and 5. I feel like someone dies in that season, but
I'm forgetting now.
I think it opened with a murder, but I don't remember who died. I'm sure it was fine.
Yeah. Most of the time, those things are fine. Yeah. It is interesting what you say about George Michael too. It's because there's points about him where it's just sort of like, this is a little bit creepy, but then also he's like 16, I guess. So, like, it's not that big of a deal. And he does, to his credit, I do like he grows out of it. Like, that is one of the things that I like a lot about the revival seasons, is that I feel like the show ends up being reframed of like, no, actually Michael kind of was also kind of a weirdo and bad guy too. Like, George Michael is the one who actually grows and becomes kind of the hero of the story in an interesting way. And I think because and the thing that he's able to grow past is like the creepy, less likable stuff of like sniffing Mavy's neck while he's like, while they're like looking over her letter and stuff. Like, that stuff, he gets out of that once he's an adult, and then he ends up kind of being like the one good person out of all of it later on.
Yeah. Something that I did appreciate that season 4 did was lean into Michael's, which seasons 1 through 3 did a little bit, his kind of obsession with, like, it's a little bit self-serving that he wanted to be needed. He wanted to keep the family together, but, it wasn't always to George Michael's benefit. It wasn't always to his own benefit. It was often unhealthy. And when that spins a little bit and maybe he's not needed, or, what he's doing to be needed or in order to help them. Yeah, I can see how that would be something that would be revealed later on. And I'm glad that they played with that.
Yeah. I like, I guess while we're talking about him, there's a whole storyline with George Michael in this episode that's kind of threaded throughout it. And that storyline, this is the one that it's like, in a lot of ways, probably has like the least of the like gimmicky stuff in it, other than the Andy Richter part of it, which is still
5 Andy Richter brothers.
All 5 Andy Richter brothers.
I'm Donnie Richter. I have a brother named Andy. He's an attention hog. He can't seem to really attract a real audience, but I love the fat S.O.B. anyway.
Oh, I thought you looked like that guy, Andy Richter. You guys are identical twins?
Identical quintuplets, actually.
There was Andy, the show-off, Donnie, the sensitive one, Cherith, the flirt, Rocky, the risk-taker and Andy's stunt double, and Emmett, who asked that we not show his picture. although composite photography tells us he'd look something like this.
Which is such a funny, weird joke. You know, like he's actually credited 5 different times in the credits at the end of this. He is credited for each brother individually in the end credits.
That's amazing. And I took a look at the IMDb, and it's Donnie, Self as Andy Richter, Self pretending to be Emmett, Cherith Richter. The second time that the first name Cherith has been used on the show.
Wait, really?
Because I think you had Cherith Cute Story is the fake name that Michael gives to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character when he's pretending to be a maritime lawyer.
Oh, that's amazing. I totally forgot about that.
And then Rocky, the stunt double, it's actually credited as Rocky Richter Wang. So he hyphenated.
Oh, interesting. That is so funny. I love it. It's such a bizarre joke to have. But Andy Richter kills it because each of his characters are very distinctly different the way that he plays them. Like the way that the Andy Richter of it all happens is because one of Andy Richter's brothers, the soft one, is his teacher at this school openings that George Michael is at. And there's this whole thing where Lindsay was sent to openings when she was a child. They supposedly poisoned her against her father, like poisoned her mind against her father, right? By teaching her like new agey feminist ideals.
I said to the teacher, I said, you poison her, I'll poison you.
George Sr. did more than just say it. He sent the man a basket of poison muffins.
Do you know the Muffin Man? There's a reward in it if you do. Then, would you like some foam in your coffee? It's called a cappuccino, and wait till you see what it costs.
And that's kind of like this whole premise of it is the school going to poison George Michael against his father, like it poisoned Lindsay against her father, basically.
Yeah, and George Michael is aware of that because it was memorialized in the I think like Why We Were Afraid of the 70s, which is like another unadvertised but brief cameo from what's his name?
Andy Dick.
Andy Dick, yes.
Oh, no, it could have been the Muffin Man. They never caught him.
How do you know about that?
I saw it on Why We Were Scared of the 70s.
And whatever happened to the Muffin Man? Remember him? I always pictured a giant 6-foot muffin trying to eat me while I was eating him. It's kind of a fantasy I go to a lot now.
And the precise right amount of Andy Dick. Very not too much, as he's recounting that he had like nightmares of a Muffin Man coming to eat him as he was eating the Muffin Man.
The perfect like person to pull for a parody of those like I Love the 70s type VH1 shows. It's like exactly the kind of comedian that you would see on those shows at the time.
Yeah, I did not need more Andy Dick, and also for it to be one based on fear. just really just great casting always from Arrested Development.
Absolutely. This basically sort of gives an opening for the Andy Richter brothers to be part of the story, essentially. One of the tasks that George Michael gets is to like just write a letter to express himself, like write a letter to his father, but he doesn't know how to express himself. That's kind of part of his character, that he's just very neurotic and everything. So he ends up getting maybe to write his letter. And then when he reads that letter out loud, which is very like, mean to she doesn't like her dad for good reason, I think. So Michael overhears George Michael reading this letter, which is like really horrible to hear out of context.
When he noticed his son expressing himself rather well.
He pretends he's the great father all of a sudden and acts like he's all worried about me. But it turns out he just does it so I can help him with his joke of a career. No wonder Mom wanted out so bad.
Oh my God.
Like, what's the last line? Like, no wonder Mom wanted out, which is like horrific to hear considering she's literally dead. But so that, that gets Michael to think that the school did actually poison his son against him, like his dad warned him. So like he goes to threaten the teacher at openings, but then runs into the real Andy Richter. So then like, well, you're a celebrity, so I can invite you to our Bluths event because we're trying to get celebrities to that.
And it's so harsh. It's so harsh on Andy Richter because his response is just like, what kind of money are you offering? He's like, well, it's a free dinner. He's like, sure. And I think like there are also in references, I think there's a show that Andy Richter that was like built around him that also where he played multiple versions of himself. So they're referencing that, but also they're like regrettable fat jokes against him a few times. And I'm just like, he participated in this. And I think it's engaging with the perception of Andy Richter to like raise his profile and also just to be funny. But I'm just like, oh, we don't need to be so mean to Andy Richter.
He's such a nice guy. I mean, like, yeah, like I appreciate the self-deprecating humor that he obviously was in on for it. Because this type of joke doesn't come without Andy Richter being involved in it, right? But yeah, it is still sort of like, yeah, you don't need to be that mean to him though. Like, is that? Yeah, he doesn't really deserve that. But while we're talking about celebrities too, one bit that I don't want to pass over that I love, because when they are talking about planning this event, the way that they get to inviting celebrities is like one of the more meta parts of this episode too. Because there's this conversation that Michael and George have.
So what's going on with the fundraiser?
Well, I don't think the Home Builders Organization is going to be supporting us.
Yeah, the HBO is not going to want us. What do we do now?
Well, I think it's showtime. I think we have to have a show during dinner. Hey, we can have some celebrities in, Oscar winners like Nicole Kidman.
I don't want to just round up a bunch of famous people that have nothing to do with our family. It's some sort of cheap stunt. I mean, what's that got to do with us?
Love just like the name dropping of all the potential premium channels that could have potentially picked up the show, right?
Yeah. Another thing that I'd never seen before. And I was like, you can do that?
Yeah. Well, the way that it's just so elegant, like it's funny because it's like, it's both elegantly and not elegantly like interlaced with it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the
like,
precise amount of like telling you it's doing this.
Right. Like what they are saying is awkward. Like it doesn't really, it is weird. It is such a bizarrely written thing to just be like, yeah, the HBO isn't going to want us. Well, it's Showtime, but like it is still impressive how it is still worked, how they work in the acronyms and everything into just the conversation, even as like purposely clunky as it is. Like I love that. It's just so very on the nose. And then they're sort of like, well, I guess, we can invite some celebrities to the event, to which Michael says, I don't want to just round up famous people that have nothing to do with our family as part of a cheap stunt. I mean, what's that got to do with us? Which, if you watch like most sitcoms or like latter era Simpsons, like that's exactly what happens all the time, is just getting celebrity guests for attention because it looks good in the promos.
Oh yeah. I learned recently that Elon Musk, I think there was a whole episode built around Elon Musk being cool on The Simpsons.
Not
good for them.
Not their finest. To be fair, that was a while ago. I think it was before a lot of the worst stuff about him came out.
Oh, okay.
Not that he was a great guy then either, but there's no excuse now. I give him a little bit of leeway back then, but also not at the same time, because like, come on, y'all. Not the greatest moment.
Yeah, I remember when guest stars on that show used to be like Alec Baldwin and Ron Howard. I remember they were in an episode, I think, together and they like had takes on their, public perceptions. And now it's just sort of just like, let's invite the person on and talk about how great they are.
Yeah. Not great. Not great.
I think there's also, is it this scene where they mention the idea of like getting like a higher profile celebrity, like a Nicole Kidman, which it seems like it was a reference to having Charlize Theron in her Ocean Walker arc.
I think that was a reference to that too, because I feel like that was very promoted at the time, as like their big get for a celebrity too. And I don't know, like Nicole Kidman seems like on a parallel sort of plane as Charlize Theron. So yeah, so I think that probably makes sense.
I'm kind of curious. It worked for me up until, like I was so shocked with the reveal that they were trying to pull off with the Charlize Theron character. Did that work for you?
At the time it did, but it's one of those things where I think like as I was watching, it's sort of like, oh my God, this is brilliant. But then I think it's like the more you think about it after the fact, it's sort of like, was it though? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've revisited it too. And obviously it's like that it has aged so poorly since then. Like that was, I think, the last time I think you could get away with that type of story on TV and not just be like burned at the stake, like it's very regrettable, even though I do think like I appreciate the like conceptual idea, I guess, for some of the wordplay.
And it wasn't just one episode. They invested multiple episodes in making that happen.
And there's still there's even callbacks to the Mr. F like song like in this episode. Like when George Michael is at the school, I think they're describing the grading system and they're like, you either learn and you get an L, or you fluctuate in your learning and you get an F. And then the Mr. F song plays, which is I do. As much as that storyline's kind of regrettable. And again, I haven't revisited it, so like I don't know how I'd feel now even trying to like separate it out from like the problematic aspect of it, I do, no matter
Yeah.
what, love the callbacks to just like the Mr. F tune. I think that's so cute.
Yeah, I think it was just as a concept, it was executed well for me in that I did not expect the rug pull, because who would expect that?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I think there are definitely things about the show that benefited from it not, for better and worse, both sides, for it not being in the age of social media that we're in now.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing where like if there's someone who's never seen it before, it's like you have to kind of recommend the show with a bit of an asterisk, you know, like just remember that this was made between the years of 2003 and 2006, and that was definitely a time to be living in. There are some choices.
Yeah, the homophobia not as strong, but yeah, I think that's a thing I'm finding myself doing a lot of, like even like a show that would have come a few years later that I really enjoy, Happy Endings. I'm still like, oh yeah, some things still don't age well, even though it's a show I love.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to do it with the, you know, it's like I don't begrudge anyone who's just sort of like, I can't deal with it, but also I do think that there's merit in like the writing that happened around it, and like knowing the place that it took, the time that it took place in. Like every single show, unfortunately, was doing those kinds of homophobic and transphobic and racist type of like ironic. The show wasn't like racist, but it did have a lot of ironic racism in it, like Franklin the puppet and stuff like that, where it's like, we're not racist, we're making fun of racism, and it's like, but you're still telling racist jokes though. Like it doesn't really work like that. But again, like every single, that was just what comedy was at the time, unfortunately, and you have to kind of like take that for what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's a small part.
Yeah, because there's so much other incredibly like strong writing and everything outside of all of that, and so much that's funny about the show outside of all of that stuff, you know.
Well, just in terms of line readings, we were talking about George Michael, and another one that stuck with me, even it's not funny, but I felt like showed authenticity from George Michael, and it was like a good stepping stone in terms of like breaking through to expressing himself more. Just how he adds like man at the end of like telling off his dad that he doesn't that, hey dad, you don't respect me.
So Dad, you saw that? I thought you didn't know what I said about you.
Well, that wasn't exactly the truth. But don't worry, I know you don't have anything bad to say about me.
Well, no, you know what? I think Donnie was right. I just wasn't digging deep enough. And you know, I think it might have meant what I said. You never listened to me. You didn't ask me if I wanted to go to the school. You didn't ask me about what I said. You threatened my teacher. You don't respect me. How can I respect you, man?
And just like there's a beat, and it's not even played for comedy, but like, I don't know, that always resonated with me, of just like adding that and standing up to an authority figure.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of cutting, because it's sort of like making it very clear, like, no, you're on my level, man. Like, I'm not looking up to you right now. You know, like, you're not respecting me, I'm not respecting you back. And it's not in a way that is like directly disrespectful, but it's clearly like you are putting them on the same level as you, which is not where he was before.
Yeah.
It's a subtle little change, but yeah, I like it. It's a good line reading. Just real quick, I always love Tobias. I love David Cross. I love the little disciplined daddy mini story that he has in this episode. And I love that he does kind of weirdly, accidentally kind of connect with maybe over like the weird gift bags, because he actually is tapping into something that she is good at, which is like she knows how to impress actual film executives and everything, and casting agents and casting directors, and can actually kind of help him out.
There's a new daddy in town. A disciplined daddy. Oh, it's a parenting tape. If you want to skip school, that's fine. You'll just come to work with me.
But you don't have a job.
All right, here. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We are going to stuff each one of these gift bags with a headshot, some glitter, and a decorative hand soap. And we're gonna send them to every casting director in town. And don't forget the funny notes.
I know where you live, haha. Casting directors hate this.
They really do.
Even though he doesn't realize that she's helping him out. Like, I think that that's actually kind of cute.
Yeah, she throws him a bone. And yeah, it's interesting to like engage with, you know, how much the show would give you in terms of like sentimentality. I think my own viewing of it, I would only ever feel that between George Michael and Michael.
Yeah.
when they would finally like have like a breakthrough, you know, father-son moment, like they do a little bit here, and as they do at the end of the series when, or season 3 at least, when they like connect and are like honest with each other. But yeah, just it's interesting that otherwise, as a viewer, I feel like pretty disconnected from having any sort of like emotional relationship between the characters, which is good because it allows me to just be fine with them treating each other so horribly. Yeah, I don't know. Do you like have other like feelings of affection or like tenderness for any character interactions in this episode?
No, not really. No, not at all.
Or the series at all.
No, not at all. And I agree with you. I think it's kind of for the better. Like any sentimentality would feel kind of false. Like it's one of those things where it's like, if you wanted to dive really deep, you can be like, is every single character on the show a sociopath or something like that? But it's like the show's almost like asking you to not care about that, because it's just sort of like, these are barely like real people is the thing. Like you kind of, that's sort of the buy-in of the show, is that you're not going to get authentic human interactions here. Like that's what makes the show really funny, is the absurd things that they say and do to each other. And because they're not like they're not real humans, they're not going to have real human interactions. Sans Michael and George Michael, who are supposed to be the closest to like real people that you get on this show, you know?
Yeah, referenced in this episode, like you were saying earlier, is them losing Michael's wife, George Michael's mom, to, it's barely discussed. I think it's cancer.
I think so.
I think it might be brain cancer. I don't know. But yeah, I think that is so barely discussed that it just doesn't register. Like I think maybe early on when they're kind of getting a tone, and I think they would engage with characters' emotions of, you know, how they're actually doing as people a little more, and then they become flattened over time in a good way. I think for this show. But yeah, I think it was striking to hear that played for a joke, because I was like, oh yeah, they do have this, like, you know, I don't know, thinking about another show like Deep Space Nine from Star Trek. Like it's a big deal that it's just like this father and son kind of absent of this family member, and this show is also that, but like we never think about it.
Right. And even in like the Maybe and Tobias thing, like I feel like I have to pull a lot to be like, that's kind of a cute moment, because like really the way it all plays out is that like Tobias is just very annoying, and his way of being disciplined daddy is like, hey, maybe help me make these like gift bags for casting agents that are full of glitter and threatening notes that I don't understand are like threatening and terrible. And she's just like, okay, I'll help you, but now you're annoying me, so to get you off my back, I'm going to get you a gig through my connections without telling you. Like, it's also like cynical and transactional anyway. Like, it's almost like accidental that it's kind of like a cute bonding thing for them, you know?
It all feels so like sugary. Like I think maybe that's one of the issues I had when I watched it, at least with season 4, where I think each character mostly removed from each other, they were more occupying not the real world, but like some semblance of it more.
Sure.
And I like felt more like the sadness or the pain around them.
I think that's a very valid criticism of how that season is structured. I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, they need to be all like together in their own little fishbowl where they're punishing each other, and you don't feel it in order for it to work, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, so I think there's quite a bit to talk about with like the sort of centerpiece of the episode, that's the party. But the lead up to that, I think, is really great, because that's another great sort of establishment of like the gimmick of the episode, essentially. Because like, you know, we were referencing like the kind of fight that George Michael and Michael have, right? Where he's like not listening to him, and was like, you don't respect me, man.
How can I respect you, man?
It was a complex situation without an easy solution.
Hello? The caterers didn't show up. I used the club. They said we owed them too much money. I guess all those lunches. I've got 50 people coming in 3 hours and nothing to feed them. No one to serve it. We have to make a good impression or we're finished.
Now that's a clear-cut situation with the promise of comedy. Tell your friends.
It was a complex situation without an obvious solution, which is like how the show is built. Everything in the show is complex. Nothing is obvious. And then immediately after that, Michael gets a phone call from Lucille, and like she says, it's almost like delivered in like a really like exposition-y sitcom-y way, where she's just like, oh no, the caterers didn't show up to our event. We need to find these replacements fast. We have to make a good impression or we're finished.
Yeah, cut to commercial. Which is like exactly what you want, like TV writing 101 for network of like, okay, you're going into that second act break.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Raise the stakes.
Yep.
Know exactly what they are.
Your character spelled out exactly what's going on. You know exactly what the solution is probably going to be. But you just got to come back from commercial, stay with us, and see exactly how it's all going to play out. Like nothing complex about this.
Yeah, really spell it out for your dumb audience.
Exactly.
Which is, yeah, like you were saying before, it's something that this show would rarely do because they know that you're smart and that you're going to get it.
And so that like leads us into the party, which we've already talked about, like all the celebrity cameos and everything that you get just very quickly. They walk in the door. I don't think you like most of them. You don't even really like see in the scene beyond them like entering. Like
nope, not at all. I think it was probably like there are a couple extras on the frame. Oh, Judge Reinhold is one we didn't mention, but yeah, he also appears in a later episode.
Yeah, but like I think like Ben Stiller and Zach Braff, I think you see them walk in, but I don't know if you ever see them at all after their entrance. Like I think they're just gone. Like which
John Larroquette grabs a gift bag and he's out of there.
Right. Which again I think is very funny because it is just yet another kind of fuck you, or it's just like, here's your celebrity cameo. Okay, they're not even there for the final sequence. They had no lines. They're not even standing in the background. We got them to shoot for like a half a day and now they're out. Like that's it. We're good. Lindsay steps in as the caterer and like, being the good sitcom housewife, she of course makes raw chicken with a sauce made of the water that the chicken was thawed in.
This is what you're making? Poached salmonella?
It'll be fine. I'll just put the sauce on them.
What kind of sauce is that?
Wait, this is the water I thawed the chicken in.
Oh, well that should go with chicken.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, it goes together, so that works.
Beautiful. It makes me want to throw up whenever I see it, but it's so funny.
Yeah, they did a great job of, I mean, I don't know if that's actually raw chicken. There would be no reason why it couldn't be, but it looks so disgusting.
It looks so disgusting, and it's actually being like served to the guests and everything. It's very funny. I think it's even funnier like later on when they like where like poisoning is mentioned, they all like look at their food like aghast, like, I mean, were you gonna eat it anyway? Like that's what clued you in that maybe you shouldn't eat the food, not the fact that it's raw chicken on your plate.
Oh yeah, I hadn't even connected. That's
a
good callback. That he's talking about poisoning the muffins, but really you have food in front of you that looks inedible. Of course you would not do well.
Yeah, because basically, like, Michael figures out that his dad was that, like, muffin man from the 70s all along.
Oh, my God, Dad. You're the muffin man? You poisoned 25 teachers during the 70s?
Just the first two. The others were copycats.
You poisoned Donnie, didn't you?
We're losing them. Come on. Have your attention, my son would like to say just a couple of words about me.
And that's when Michael noticed his own son.
Well, not big.
You came, huh?
Yeah, well, it was wrong of me to say what I did about how I felt.
I've done what I did.
No, you said what you felt, and maybe it's about time I did the same thing.
So why don't we just let him express himself? Go ahead, son.
I was going to say that you don't know who my father really is, and that what has happened to us is a great injustice, that we were never really given a fair chance. But that's not the truth. We've been given plenty of chances. And maybe the Bluths just aren't worth saving. Maybe we're not that likable, We're very self-centered. And my father may be the worst of us.
So that like prompts him to give this big speech that originally was going to be like how, everyone should save the Bluths and they deserve to be saved and please give us money and please support our show and everything. And instead, like, it basically becomes him saying, like, we've been given plenty of chances, but maybe the Bluths are not worth saving because we're not that likable, which is sort of like this really interesting, like, downer kind of acceptance of the fact that the show's just not going to work. It's going to get canceled. It got 3 seasons, but if networks and casual audiences want people to be likable and want to have very simple sitcom plots, then like I guess we just can't be saved. This just isn't going to work. Like it's just really, it's an interesting sort of meta like take on the situation that they're in.
Yeah. It feels like for the characters' acceptance and for us as well, like they start in a place where they're scrambling to do, whatever they need to, like change themselves, adapt if they need to go to raise money, another organization, another network. They're going to do that. They'll do whatever, but then kind of, stating that like, this is our, mission statement. Like, this is who we are. We're not going to change ourselves because it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of the way when Conan was on NBC, knowing he was going to get canceled, and he wanted to, go out on a high note, both of like a fuck you, but also like maintain the character and the consistency of what he'd been doing, and also have some fun with it. Like I remember he was bringing out like a Bugatti on the show's dime and like playing the Rolling Stones, like two incredibly expensive things to have on a network TV show. And it just feels like that Arrested Development like made the choice, like, okay, we can show you our journey of accepting this, and like, hey, maybe you will too.
Yeah. Like there's freedom to it almost, right? Like when you know that like we're going to get canceled anyway, right? Like it's almost like if you're like working a job and you are about to get fired, or you've already quit or something, you're just working those final 2 weeks or something. Like it's just sort of like, I'm obligated to be here. You're obligated to like, let me be here and do my thing. But also like, I don't really care anymore. I'm just kind of doing my own thing because it doesn't matter. So there's a lot of freedom in that. You really can do whatever you want. And like to the show's credit, like they wrap up all of their storylines in the next few episodes and everything. It's not like the whole rest of the show is a big fuck you to the audience, but this episode is allowed to be, because who cares? Like it's not the show's going to be over anyway,
Yeah, they're definitely not taking an approach of like, senioritis, checking out, not doing the job that they're there for, but they are speaking to the people who are fans of the show, or as they're betting and bet well that will watch the show on DVD, and kind of saying like, okay, yes, we're going to go out and we're going to be ourselves and do it exactly how we want, and not have tried to contort ourselves. And this, that's consistent with Mitch Hurwitz saying later that he didn't want to, they could have had like 22-minute or 29-minute episodes, but also like shorter seasons and less money, and that it was just easier to be themselves and have things end, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But then also things can be brought back for more money later on Netflix.
Exactly. It's all, there's a cynicism to all of it that weirdly like works for this. Like this is a pretty cynical show, so like it weirdly ends up working for it at the end of the day. It's very interesting. The acceptance of it all is just extremely interesting to me.
I wonder, was there anything similar in season 4 or 5 that acknowledged the show being brought back and that it was probably for money? Because I feel like that would be something that they should have done if they didn't do.
God, it's been such a long time since I watched it. I feel like there was some kind of like they did at least acknowledge like the time passage between the seasons at certain point. There was jokes about that, like especially it was supposed to pick up right after season 3 and everyone's older. Like I know that there was jokes.
That's right. Yeah.
There were jokes.
The dramatic George Michael aging.
Right. There were jokes about that. And so I feel like there were also kind of accompanying jokes about it being picked up somehow, but I just don't like, there's something like, that's like kind of right in my brain that like, I feel like I can think that there was a joke, but I just can't remember exactly what it was. It makes me want to rewatch it.
I think the fact that it's not like so memorable, I think they might've shied away from it a little bit because who knows how that season was going to be received, since it had been a while, would be so different.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it does make me want to, I every time I watch a select episode of this show, I'm sort of like, I want to rewatch Arrested Development, because again, it is such a rewatchable show. Even at its worst, it's still like interesting to watch.
Yeah, and it's so easy, especially this episode, it's so easy to drop into.
Yeah.
Because it is serialized, but whatever stage of like the legal process they're in, it doesn't really matter for you, like just having fun with the characters.
That's true. It is fascinating that like as much of, the sort of complaint about the show being inaccessible to like audiences that would drop in, because of how serialized it was, I agree with you. It is surprising how easy it is to drop in on the show. You're not going to get all the gags and everything, but because it is a show that has a narrator that like calls, if they are revisiting a previous plot point or something, the narrator's going to reference the previous episode that it was in or something. Like, it's obviously more rewarding when you watch all of it and follow along with it. But like, I hadn't seen an episode of Arrested Development in ages. Turn this one on and like feel like I fell right back into it, like I think that the characters are so clearly well defined and like the jokes are so like mile a minute that like for every joke that you miss or don't get or don't find funny, there's going to be one right after it that is really funny, delivered by characters that are like very clear to understand from the second that they're on screen, played by very good people that are all recognizable at this point too. So, that helps.
Yeah. They really, I think Portia de Rossi, she was on Better Off Ted, which I kind of really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, just about everyone has gone on to have so many good projects they've been a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah. The only other thing that I really had from this, there's lots of stuff in this episode, I'm sure, that can be talked about. But the only other thing that towards the end of it that I had is I really do just love at the end of the dinner party.
The speech was disturbing, the food inedible, and the gift bags pretty frightening. Oh, and then that old racist woman choked on Buster's thumb.
This lady can't breathe.
All in all, it was one of the Bluth's better dinner parties.
Ron Howard's contribution as narrator can never be like overappreciated.
Yeah.
He's so good at hitting whatever note he needs to, and I appreciate that how flexible the show can be because of having a narrator to like, with ADR jokes from cast members and with a narrator, like that's how you get, I feel like, such a tight show with so many jokes that, it's in the writing, it's in the editing as well, where I think they would be honing things. And I appreciate that Mitch Hurwitz would have been a little bit exhausted because from what I've read, he was very, very involved in making like the best product possible.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I agree that the idea to have a narrator on the show was like just such a stroke of brilliance. Like it would not work without a narrator, and it wouldn't work without a narrator as good as Ron Howard either. Like just the way that he delivers things.
Yeah, and I don't have the memory of watching Happy Days or anything like that, but I think it works for hopefully multiple age levels and context depending on your experience with sitcom history.
Yeah, well, especially having your narrator, the voice you're hearing all the time talking about these people, be like known, like famously a very nice guy. Like he started out his career playing a nice child, played a nice guy in a sitcom, and then has like just like a nice director. Like that's kind of his personality as far as I know. And so
his voice is so gentle and bright.
Yeah. And to have that contrasted with just these like horrible, awful people on screen, like it's just, it's perfect. It's great.
The music too, I think, adds a great sense of like lightness of like, it feels like whistly. I think I recently learned that one of the instruments is a banjo-lele, I think, which is like banjo ukulele combo. But yeah, it always provides that sense of like lightness and that none of this is to be taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Including their own cancellation, which I, again, love. They don't take any of it seriously.
Just in terms of a little bit of, I guess, context, the live segment, I was reading about how, like, 30 Rock would go on to do a couple of live episodes, which were very cool. But, like, at the time, it was kind of in vogue, where like Will and Grace the year before had done it a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
The Drew Carey Show did it a few times a few years before, and then I think just a couple months before, The West Wing had done like a whole debate episode, which is like the Jimmy Smits, Alan Alda debate when they were having the election live, which is impressive, but I'm sure something that was like heavily promoted.
Yeah,
to get you to watch.
I wonder why. Yeah, I do wonder why that was sort of in the water at the time. I know that the like ER live episode was a really big one, but that was years before. Like that was earlier.
Right.
I think that happened. And I feel like that one was very successful. And I don't know, I'm sure that some kind of variations have been done, but I think like the scale of that show doing it, I think was really unique. And I think the success of it probably was sort of like a proof of concept for a lot of other shows. But it is weird that I don't know that it happened like directly after it. I feel like it was years later, then it sort of exploded within like sitcoms and stuff, especially. But all of it, yeah, is always like kind of really gimmicky. Like, and it's always like, it's never as good as a regular episode because a whole appeal of it is that they're doing it live and they're going to flub some lines and it's not going to be like as perfectly rehearsed and everything. And I love Arrested Development's take on it because it is like the tail end of the episode. It's on the next Arrested Development segment part.
On the next Arrested Development, the Bluth family gets some good news.
They're all sending in donations. And you know what the key was?
What?
Your speech. It didn't sound desperate.
Well, I guess it really doesn't pay to be desperate.
It sure doesn't.
Let's not celebrate yet. We still got the West Coast feed, guys.
As by all accounts, the only part that we see that is labeled as live is just Lucille's one line. It sure doesn't. Like, you could assume that the whole last scene was live, but they only have the live symbol up for that one line, which I kind of think is hilarious. It's just the one
and
line
like
is
the
live.
camera work is different than it feels like that's all it is. Which always confused me because I'm just like, well, I'm seeing it on DVD. They must have had the fuller scene, but I was like, no, I think that's it. And immediately, like, it's delivered. I love Jessica Walter's delivery where like she's not even keeping it together, because she knows kind of like what a joke it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that it's intentionally a little disappointing because what were we gonna get out of this that benefited? Like what does live really do for us? I don't think it does much.
Yeah,
not this show.
It's like the big finale of the episode presented live, and it's one line. I don't think it was actually presented live either. I think that was like that's all fake. Like that was just the one take. But I loved like she does it. She starts laughing. They all cheer, like party. It's like, don't worry, we still got the West Coast folks. Like it was such a hard endeavor for this like one like 3-second live part of the episode. It's great. I love it. Again, it's just such a fuck you to the audience of like, here's the thing that that we're promising you, and we're gonna give you like the worst version of it, basically.
I can almost guarantee that line from Jason Bateman, like it very much feels like an ADR line, which the show would do a lot of when someone's back was returned. Like they would be constantly like tweaking the jokes whenever possible, in a way that I think really works. And I think, it just adds to the case that this was not an actually live segment.
Well, cool. I know that there's a million jokes in this episode because it's so dense. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything that was sticking out? Anything you want to talk about before we start wrapping up?
Oh yeah, I just love the newscaster. They cut back to like an old report from John Beard, where it's like him in the 70s and he's got like huge hair and like he's talking about the Muffin Man, and then they just like tack on a joke about cappuccinos.
That's right.
Like the advent of them coming to America, and just his delivery is so fantastic because he pronounces it cappuccino, and this like I think both his smugness in saying and wait till you see what it costs, like, and then holding on that for as long as they do, I think just creates, I don't know, it was indelible in my mind as whenever I see like a cappuccino, I always think of that pronunciation.
Oh, it's such a good joke. It's such a good cutaway. Yeah. And it's like, it's the kind of thing that like evokes so many things that I've seen on news, where it's just like the sort of mocking nature of just like this newfangled thing that's clearly not going to last. And it's like Facebook or something. Like it's, it's like, no, y'all always get it wrong every time. I think
we're also saying the same thing right now. It's still about coffee, I imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh yeah, no, that's a great added layer too. Like, yeah, isn't wow, you're spending how much on a Starbucks drink? Like, yeah, this has always been how it is.
This
like,
new pumpkin spice latte. Oh, and one more like future star, I guess. I don't know, like comedy actor. He's briefly in this episode, the actor who plays the surrogate, George Senior's guy who would like go around and like be in places for him. That's Bob Einstein, who was on for so many years on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, I thought I recognized that guy. Okay, cool. Dang, this episode, you know what? I guess they weren't lying about the cavalcade of stars, were they?
That's right. Even more in retrospect.
Oh man. Yeah, well, thanks so much. Thanks for getting me to revisit it. I probably will end up watching more Arrested Development again for the first time in years. Now that there's been some distance after
I might
the last
just like continue on from where I am and then maybe check out season 4. Not the chronological cut.
Yeah, no, can't stand it. I hate that that's like the main one that they have listed on Netflix. Like you have to go into like, like that's what automatically plays. You have to go into like the extras to go into the original version because I guess they want to hide it for some reason. But like, it's not. I think it's objectively better, but whatever. That's my opinion, I guess.
Hot take.
Hot
Let us
take.
know. Season 4, Arrested Development.
Hot take. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Joel. It was awesome to have you on here. If anyone wants to find you, anything you're working on, where's the best place they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Joel K. Arnold. And if you want to listen to a podcast entirely about the Cats movie from 2019, that podcast is called Ineffable, a Cats movie podcast.
Beautiful. That sounds fantastic. Truly a movie that you can just talk about forever, I guess. Really.
Yeah, so much to dissect there. I'm always finding more.
I love it. Well, thanks again. You can find me on Twitter at Derek B. Gale or on my other podcast, Swallowing Web Snappers, a Spider-Man podcast, which does deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made, and Falling with Style, an ongoing Pixar movie marathon, monthly podcast that dives into every Pixar film chronologically. You can also follow this podcast at Gimmicks Pod on Twitter and Instagram for some extra goodies, and email me your questions, feedback, and corrections, and responses to my hot takes about Arrested Development Season 4 to gimmicspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on all platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
Hot ham water.